All right, welcome everybody to the Fireside Chat for Beginners, formerly known as the Q&A for Beginners. Had a few people say, well, is it really a webinar? And this is a little bit different type of webinar, so we renamed it just so that you guys can have a better feel for what it is. It is really just a kind of a chat between you guys, questions and answers. We can set it up so that you guys use your audio mics to ask your questions if you like, or in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a section in there called questions. And in that questions area, you can type in your questions. We'll just kind of go down those questions one at a time and go through for however long that you guys have questions, or up to an hour. So if you don't mind, go ahead and start typing in your questions in that questions box, and we'll just start going down there. I do have a few housekeeping things real quick. There is this is being recorded, so we will make this available to you through our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel, if you just go to youtube.com, search for Realvolve, you can get to it, or over here on the right-hand side, you guys should be able to see my screen. Make sure that you guys, if you don't see my screen, send up a message, a red flare or something, saying that you can't see it. But over here on the right-hand side is this How Do I? And you can use the How Do I to pull up different things. There is a website link area here, and in which case you can see different things. There's one here for Realvolve YouTube channel, and it will take you to our YouTube channel, in which case you can see all kinds of different pre-recorded messages and things, of which this Q&A for Realvolve for Beginners, there's several of these. I would highly encourage you to maybe review some of those if you've got if you're brand new to Realvolve and want to learn it. So that's a great resource there for you. Another resource that I want to make sure you guys are aware of, if you go in under the help, under that same website link, there is this basic training. Make sure you go to that. If you've not been to the basic training piece, this will take you through the different sections of Realvolve, the adding contacts, properties or listings, your transactions or your closings, as well as building workflows, building templates, and starting workflows. Those are some of the things that people want to do right away, and we've got some pre-recorded audio pieces in there, some other related topics, a lot of really good content for you guys to use to learn Realvolve. So make sure that we made that aware for you as well. And if the How Do I, just we covered it in one of the other sessions, but I want to make sure you guys are aware of it. The How Do I is just a really easy way to learn certain things about the system. You can type in a question here, and it'll bring up any of the related How Do I's or walkthroughs that are built into the system. So, you know, how do you add a contact? How do you add a tag? That type of stuff. And it will step you through it step by step. You know, how do you delete a contact? That type of stuff. We do have an onboarding section. I would like for you guys to go into the onboarding and make sure that you go through. There are basically 4 major sections right now. We're getting ready to add a few more, waiting on a few more changes to get approved and submitted, in which case you can go through these different things, and as you do them, it marks them out, and there's an onboarding process, and you know, hopefully you get to the 100%. By that time, you should know the real basics of Realvolve, getting set up, dealing with contacts, templates, and workflows. We're adding some more in there for properties and transactions. So I'll go ahead and start going through some of these questions. They're already coming in, and we will take them kind of step by step through each one of them. How do I set up an activity that looks like this? Reminder to set inspection. Then once I have the date, I add the inspection date that populates into the transaction. When a reminder, then a reminder to check if I have received the report 24 hours after completion of the inspection. Same thing for photographer. That is an excellent, excellent question, And let's just kind of dive into that one. That's a good one. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and just start setting up a workflow. That really is something that would be part of the closing process probably, or the listing process, depending on where you want to put it in there. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to do, since it is inspection type stuff, probably dealing with the closing stuff more than the listing. But what we're going to do is we're going to go in here into the workflows area, and we're going to come over here to the plus. I'm going to add a new workflow. You could put this into an existing workflow if you want, but I'm going to say create a new workflow just so that we start this from scratch. So let's say check for inspections, whatever. And the first major topic that you have to identify is, where am I going to use this? Is it going to be with a contact, a property, or a listing? A property is a listing, or a transaction, or a closing. Because you're dealing with inspections, I would probably choose transaction. Let me know real quick if you think that it should be, if it's something you want to do as part of the listing process itself, but I'm going to go ahead and choose transaction. And those two are the only fields that you really need to make sure that you fill in. They've got the little stars on them. After that, you can leave everything else the way it is and just click on add. So here's what the guts of what you need to do. We're going to create an activity. So I'm going to come down here, create an activity, and the title of that activity is reminder to set inspection. So reminder to set inspection. And need to choose who's going to do this, whether it's one of the existing users. Now this is just a sample one, so I've got Joe Agent and Annie Assistant. If Annie Assistant's the one doing it, I could select her. If you have a role-based question in here, like the listing coordinator or the closing coordinator that needs to do that, you can put that in there, and then whenever you start this workflow, it'll ask who is the closing coordinator, in which case you can pick one of your users at that point. But I'm just going to choose Annie Assistant, say that she does this particular thing. And then the question here would be, who am I going to do this with? And this would really come down to probably being a party member of some sort. So there's different types of inspectors, inspection people that you could pick from. If you wanted to just do a general one, you can do that. Termite inspector or pre-listing homes. There's different ones in there. Choose the one that's most appropriate for what you're wanting to do. In which case, I'm just going to pick one of them there. And when do I want to do this? Well, I might want to do this so many days after the contract date. There are lots of dates available. You can pick and choose through here. You can also do a search for certain words, and once it is found, just select it. If you guys have a Mac, it is very possible that this little scroll bar is not available, and there is a setting in your Mac preferences. If you go in under preferences, I just want to show this real quick. Under the general, make sure that you set the show scroll bars. I have it set to always, so it always shows those scroll bars. If you don't have a Mac, you don't have to worry about it. But I've seen a lot of people come here, they click on it, and there's only 4 choices. And whenever they just see the 4 choices, they don't think there's other options there. And there are lots of other dates that are available, so make sure that you have that scroll bar on there. Now, as far as the 0 days after the contract, maybe I just want to do this 2 days after the contract, or whatever. You can specify whatever the time frame is. I'm just going to leave it at 0 for this sample. And everything else I'll leave as is. Now, the next thing that we need to know or need to fill in is, because this is a reminder to do this, the one question is then once I have a date, add the inspection date to be populated into the transaction. So in this case, maybe I want to create a checklist, and you can create checklist items that are static. It's just words, you know, whatever you want to put in there. In this case, we actually want to put in, instead of a static checklist item, we're going to put in a field checklist item. And in which case you can use field identifiers or merge fields using brackets, the square bracket next to your P key on your keyboard. And I'm going to put in inspection, and I think I chose, what did I choose? Termite inspector information, home inspector, I forget what I chose. In which case you can choose a date field that goes along with it that you want to fill in. So let's go termite inspector, come down here, termite inspection date, and there's a termite inspection time. So I can put these in with termite inspection date and termite inspection time. You'll see I've got brackets around them. I've selected it, and then by pressing enter, it's putting two checklist items. And this will make more sense here in a little bit, so hang tight with me just for a second. I mean, I can put in call inspector as a checklist, just as an item. It's a static item, but I can also use these merge field items. I'm going to leave that on there just for showing you the difference between them. Everything else really doesn't matter. This would probably be a call of some sort, and I'm just going to go ahead and add this. At this point, I don't really have anything else that I need on there. Okay, so then you want a reminder to check to see if you've received the report 24 hours after the completion of the inspection. So what we want to do now is say, okay, we're going to add another activity and say check on inspection report, in which case we're going to have Annie do that again. In this case, you may not really need a with unless you want to go ahead and put the inspector on there, the termite inspector, just as a in case you need to call him or anything, but it may not be necessary. In this case, the when is going to be 1 day after termite inspection date. Okay, so we had in that first activity, we had told it that we want to do it, have the inspection date, and this one here is 24 hours or 1 day after the inspection date to make sure that we get the report. So that should do that. Whether that be a call or a to-do or whatever you want, you can decide that. The rest of this is really the same. And you could do the same thing for the photographer as well. There's photography dates. Let me just go ahead and do the same thing again. So there's those two. If you wanted to do the photographer information, you can do that. Same thing. Actually, I won't spend the time on it. There are other, you can just go through the same process, the only difference being the checklist fields. You would use photography date, photography time, and the with would be photographer instead of termite inspector. It's the only thing that's different. So now let's go ahead and apply this. So we're going to go over here to the dashboard. And I'm going to go to a transaction of some sort, and let me just pick one here. And we'll start this. Check for inspections. Next. Okay, so you'll see that there are two activities. Again, this could be two activities out of 50 or 100 that's part of your workflow. It doesn't have to be just a single workflow like this. This could be just one segment of your workflow that you've got in there. It's going to, because you're using the termite inspection date, it's going to offer it there so that if you do know it, you could go ahead and fill it in. If you don't know it, you can leave it blank. What was the contract date on this? In this case, maybe we got the contract today and we're good. So I'm going to leave the termite inspection date blank, but just fill in the contract date. And once again, it's going to ask for the inspector, the termite inspector, if we know who that is. If we know who that is, we can just go ahead and put that in. Let me just see if I've got anybody. June Carter. If you don't know who it is, that would be one of the other merge fields that we could have added in that checklist so that it has a way that you can select it at the time that you go do it. If you use the same termite inspector all the time, you can just pre-select it as well. It just depends on what you do there. And then I click on Done. So now what I want to do is I'm going to come over here to my activities. You'll see that there are two activities that were set up. One of them, this check on inspection, since this activity has not been completed, this one has not been set a date. It's in there, it's ready to do, but it's not been assigned a date. What normally would happen is you go into your dashboard, you'd see your tasks for the day that you need to do, and off that dashboard it would look just like this, but down in the lower right hand corner it would give you the opportunity to complete this. So you get this reminder, say today we got the reminder to do the set the inspection. So I click on the little checkbox there. So here's where this all comes together. I was just showing you that you can have static items, so I can check that if I want. Did I call the inspector? Yeah, I did. No biggie. If it's not something that you need, you can click it again to mark it out. And if you click it one more time, it just cycles through those three different settings. So I'm going to go ahead and just check that just so that it's complete. So here's the termite inspection date. So did I set my inspection date? Yeah, the inspection date is going to be on Tuesday. And the inspection time, they no telling what time, but you can give a ballpark, say it's going to be at 9 a.m. So as you complete those, you can just check those off and say save and close. So now what it will do is it will go ahead and save that because I filled in the termite inspection. Let me refresh this. Sometimes it takes a second. It goes ahead and updates the activity that I completed that activity, and it's going to do so many days afterwards. So in this case, it already had some information, so it's on there. So once that activity gets done, then it'll come up on the dashboard, and you're good to go. So because I was doing that all on a certain day, it was not quite coming up on the same piece there. But so one day after the completion of that is when it's supposed to be set, so March 1st on that case. So this activity will come up due as the inspection report. Okay, so the one thing, I was just getting one thing confused whenever I was explaining that. Some things can be done off of the completion of another activity. That's what I was thinking I was doing. And in which case, had I completed this today, I can actually have something automatically set a date based off of the completion of this. In this case, it was based off the inspection date, so I got lost there for a second. So one day after the inspection date is the March 1st, so on March 1st, you'll get that inspection. Hope that answered that for you, Shelley. If I create a workflow and add to 3 transactions, when I tweak the workflow with a change, with the activities in the 3 transactions change, or just the future? Just the future. So now, if I come in here and say I wanted to do that same, I want to make a change to that workflow that I just did, in which case I could pull it back up, check for inspections, and make a change of whatever type. That change will only take effect on future activities. However, if you've added several new activities and you want those to be included, you can actually start this workflow again. And you notice whenever we first started the workflow, say for instance I go back in here and maybe I want to start this, maybe I've added 2 or 3 new items. I know that I didn't make any changes, but had I made some changes, there could be additional things on there. I could go in there and just say, well, I want to unmark everything and just mark the new ones and apply those. So then it would, even though it's another workflow being started, it's still the same workflow overall. So any new items can be added. Your only challenge would be is if you made changes. In the future, we will be allowing changes to activities. It's just not there at this time. How can I see the newest contacts added to my database? Okay, so easiest thing to do there, guys, is whenever you go into your contacts, let me clear out my filters. We have this sort by option. I like to have it set for either recently updated or by entry date descending order. So descending order means whichever ones were added most recently. You can do basically the same thing for most recently updated. If it was just added or just updated, it'll be listed at the top in that case. So you've got some ability there to do that. So if the 3 Zillow leads came in during the night, can I see them without searching individually? Now, that will show them to you as far as all your new stuff at the top of the list. If you're coming in from a Zap through Zillow, you should get notifications here that you've got people coming in through your notifications, so you can get to them straight up that way as well. I downloaded the iPhone app from the App Store and not able to log in. You're ahead of us just a little bit. Right now, we are getting the approval for the app for a update to that. We did post it last week, and we are in the middle of getting a change approved. Once it's approved, it will be allowing you to log in. We purposely did not want anybody logging in yet, so hang tight on that. Sorry for the misconception there if you were concerned. We're just about ready to release that. We'll be letting everybody know once it's available. Merge fields are not showing up when I use the bracket in my templates. Okay, so real quickly on that. Typically, whenever I hear that, maybe you've gone in, created a new template, and you gave it a title, say my new template, whatever you want to call it, and then you come down here and you put in bracket, and it's not showing anything. Typically when that happens, it's because the use with is not selected yet. If you choose which database this is really going to be used with, then it'll know which merge fields to use. It can't give you the list because it doesn't know which fields to use. Am I going to be doing this template just for contacts, where it's emailing from the contact database with some basic information, or am I doing it from the property database or from the transaction? Once you select that, and then come down here to the merge fields, either in the subject or in the body of it, whenever you do the bracket, then it will let you do that process. So you should be good there. Let me know if that doesn't take care of it. One thing that, if you guys have problems or challenges, one thing I didn't bring up is down here at the bottom, we do have the live chat support, and you can get linked in with some of our support team, and they can step you through and answer whatever questions you've got. Some people say that's a little bit hidden down at the bottom, but you can go to live chat support business hours from, I think, 8 a.m. to about 7 p.m. On certain nights, 5 p.m. on most nights. So take a look at that. Um, activity, check inspection report. If I don't have the report, can I have it tell me to send an email to the inspector asking them where the report is? Yes. So here's, let's go back to that same inspection. Great question. Let's go back to that inspection piece. So I'm going to come down here and say, check for inspection report. So I guess I really should have thought about that one. So here is the inspection report, and we're checking to see, did we get it? And in this case, this is where we would want to have the termite inspector because we are going to do something with them. And we'll say, received inspection as a little checklist item. Okay, so if this activity comes due and the I go to complete it, it pops up and it'll have the little checklist item on there for received inspection, in which case I can check it off and the activity is good and it'll go on and complete it. What I can do now is if it's not complete, I can come over here to my actions and I want to do an extra action on this activity. So I'm going to come over here and say request update or request inspection report. And what we're going to do is we're going to send a message in this case. We'll send it automatically. You can do it with preview. There's a few different options. You can send it manually where you initiate it, in which case technically that's all you're going to be able to do. Because it's a checklist, it won't do it automatically because it's a checklist item. In this case, we can do it either manually with preview or without a preview. I'm going to choose with preview just so that you can see what that does. It gives you the opportunity to review it if you want. We're going to send an email, in which case there needs to be some email that you're going to send as a template. So see if I've got I'm going to choose one here called inspection reports. Now, make sure you create a template that you're going to use that says, hey, inspector, want to make sure things are going right. Do you need anything from me? Blah, blah, blah. So the action on this, it's got a title, and we're going to be sending a message. The one thing that we need to do, however, is down here, because this is a checklist, we only want this action to be available if this checklist is not complete. So I come down here to the very bottom and we'll say that this action is for incomplete checklist. So I'm going to check that, and then it gives me the opportunity to say, well, I want to send this email off, and then I'm going to give them 1 day or 2 days. You set it however often you want it rescheduled. Say 1 day, and I'm going to reschedule it for 1 day out. So I'm going to hit save on that and go ahead and update this. So now let me go back. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go ahead and go back to that one just to show you another feature that we've got. I'm going to go back to activities, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete this existing workflow. Delete all. It's not there. I'm going to come back and go into Radar, and I'm going to start that workflow one more time. Inspections. Next. Next. Now what's going to happen is, because I had previously filled in that inspection date, it's gone ahead and kept that inspection value and pulled it in from the transaction area and filled it in. So if it knows the dates, it's going to fill in the dates for you. You don't have to fill those in. I'm just going to leave that so I don't have to mess with it. And June is still the inspector on that. So I'll click on that. And I'm going to go back over here to activities. That first reminder to do this piece, it fills in the things. Yes, we've got these. Yes, and save that. It would update. If I change that date, it would go ahead and change the date on this as well. So here's where things got just now changed. If I check on this little checkbox, you'll see that there is a checklist says received inspection, and then also down here there is an action that goes along with that checklist. Available actions for an incomplete checklist. Request the inspection report. So I can come over here. If I did not receive it, I can come here and say run, and it would run the action, which is to send an email, and that email then would be sent to whoever the width was set to, which was the termite inspector. So it automatically sends that information there. If instead, if I did receive that, if I check this off, then it knows that, hey, I've got a complete checklist. I don't need that action anymore. So I can just click on Save and Close. So that checklist with the action is what lets you do things differently based off of different conditions. Now, I only added one action. You could have multiple actions and branch different directions. We talk a lot about branching workflows, and the way things branch is by having multiple actions. I might, instead of having this as a request inspection by email, I might have another action that says send it by SMS text message, in which case I can check one or both of them, and it sends both an email and an SMS message. So how cool is that? Hope that answers that question for you. I'm having a problem with my calendar sort. If I click a date range, it defaults to birthday and will not search other fields. Okay, so I'm assuming you're wanting to do calendar sort. So under, close this, under your activities here, you have the ability to sort by different dates and times. Let me just clear out the filters totally and see how many we've got in there. I'm not sure. Yeah, lots of stuff. This is just a sample database, and I'm constantly using it, but this will give us maybe some good things to look at. Whenever you click on the little down arrow on here, it will allow you to choose, let's see here, date ranges for your activities, in which case, I mean, you should just be able to select whatever date range that you want, in which case then it would show you those items based off of that date range. Now, if you're under a contact area, and I'm not sure that maybe this is what it is, we do have an option here for choosing which date fields you want to use, in which case maybe I want to go in here and say, well, I want to find everything where the entry date was between February 1st and February 28th, in which case I've got 13 contacts where their entry date. So if I come in here and look, there's no birthday selection. It says here no date range selected. But I do, if I come here and say date range, then it'll show me what the date range, and then I can remove that. So I'm thinking that may be what you were talking about as far as birthdays. Let me know if that's not. I'm a little bit confused on your question there. How do the SMS messages work? Where does it send from? Okay, so make sure you guys know, but one of the things on the onboarding here under setup is there's an add an SMS number, in which case it will take you step by step through setting up a number. And the thing about Realvolve is that we have SMS capabilities set up, but we can't send through your own SMS number. If you've got a cell phone or whatever, we have a special Realvolve SMS number. So doing that step-by-step how-to is going to tell you what you need to do. These little pop-ups come up, say, okay, click on the down arrow, click on settings, in which case click on the SMS services. Isn't that cool? I just kind of stepped you through it. And because I already have my SMS set up, it's basically saying, hey, the information here shows you what your number is. If you've not set up your number yet, you will have the opportunity to go in there and say, well, I'm in the United States, or I'm in Canada or UK or wherever, and then you'll put in an area code, and then it will show you a list of available phone numbers for a given area code. Now, again, this is not your personal SMS number. This is a number that we can use in order to send out. This number up here is not my normal number. What this is it's a status SMS service, basically. So while a lot of people say, well, I want it to come from my SMS number. The problem is we can't do that. We just don't have the ability to do that. But what you can do is whenever that SMS message goes out to, say, for instance, that inspector, the inspector would get that message, and if they reply to that message, it will come back as a message to that contact record, to that inspector. If you go in under the radar, you would see the content of what they replied in Realvolve. It also sends a copy of that SMS message to whatever your SMS number is. So you would actually get a copy of it on your phone or whatever you're using there. You also have the ability to have it notify you by email as well. So just to make sure I'm not missing anything, I can have it notify me in both places, one or both of those options. So as correspondence goes back and forth, it's registered within Realvolve and registered through the email piece as well through your notes. Now, if you reply through your phone, the challenge is we don't have the ability to intercept your phone ones. So it's real important that you do the replies and stuff through Realvolve. That will change very soon once we get the mobile app out, and there's still a couple more features that we're adding. And that is one of them that we'll be adding after the first release, is the ability to send your messages and stuff out through your phone. You'll get notified through the app. You'll be able to reply through the app, and it's all normal. I have had people say, well, I don't want people to be calling me on or texting me on another number. I have my number. I understand that, and I wish we could deal with that, but in order to send out messages, we have to send out through a different number. And what a lot of people do is say, the very first message that gets sent out to them, let them know that, hey, this is my status update SMS message number. It's not my normal phone number. Any replies and stuff does come back to my system and is logged. Or explain to them what it's about, and then they'll understand. We have recently added under the templates area, if a template is an SMS message, I'm just going to come here to one. We have changed it so that you can have up to 100 or 1,500 characters in your SMS messages, and it'll break it up into multiple SMS messages and sent out. So you're no longer limited to 160 characters like you used to be. So that's a good thing. Hope that helps. How do I preview a letter from the screen before sending it? Okay, so going back to that same, I'll go ahead and go back to that property. And we'll do just that, because I did set it up as preview before sending. So I'm going to go back to my activities. I did not complete that activity, I don't think. No. So I'll come here. Okay, in this case, the inspector did not send it to me. I'm going to send a request, and I'm going to choose run. Because I had told that system, told it that I want to have the ability to preview it before it's sent, it asks me an extra question here. I can just go ahead and send it. Just click send, and it'll go ahead and send it. I also have the ability to edit that message before it's sent. So I click on edit message, and it'll pull it up, and then I can make whatever editorial changes to it if I want. This screen is getting ready to be much bigger, so hang tight on that. We're doing some major changes on this. You can maximize it, but just the initial screen is going to be bigger very soon. But you can go through here, and I can even preview it so that it has the information about what's being sent and who's being sent, etc. If I don't want to send it, I can click on Do Not Send, and it's still there. So because if I would have sent it, it will go ahead and advance my date to the next day, because I said bump it up by 1 day, so that would be there. Calendar filter. Wanted to look up the latest added entry date of contacts. It will only search birthdays. Okay, yeah, that was back where we were at. So if I come over here to the entry date, which is what we just did, if you click on the down arrow, choose entry date, and then it will bring up based off of when these names were entered. Can I program BombBomb videos to go out at future dates? Well, the BombBomb, we do have the ability to set up templates within Realvolve, and inside those templates, let me go back to just an email ones. Inside these templates, you can specify that you want to use BombBomb and insert a template that has a BombBomb video and send that out. Now, BombBomb has their own library, and currently we're working on the integration to be able to do that through their library, send out messages of their library. That's not there yet if that's what you're wanting. But you do have the ability to set up BombBomb videos inside a template, in which case, just like your workflows, you can specify, let me just go to Beeson. Say, for instance, oh, I guess I don't have those on this one. You might have like a series of emails that you've got out, maybe go out once a week. Keller Williams, no, I have those. 8x8, I thought I had those. Okay, yeah, I do. Oh, Keller Williams. So like on the Keller Williams samples here, there's an email that goes out every week, and then some calls and stuff. In the email template that you have selected, just make sure that you have the correct template that has the BombBomb video in it, and you can do just that. Will the Remax branding on BombBomb be set up? That is coming. That is part of why we're doing what we're doing with BombBomb and stuff, so hang tight on that. That will be there soon, Jim. Thank you for asking. What is the purpose of the tags inside an activity? Okay, so I get asked this a lot, and it's a great question. So let me come over here to an activity of some sort. What you can do is any activity, any template, anything that you may want, you can add a tag to, of which you might add certain keywords that may be important to you for that particular activity. Say, for instance, actually, let me go to one, go to maybe a closing one. Okay, so a new closing. And in this closing workflow, we have several different activities, of which, see if I've got one here, 0 days after contract date. I don't really have the closing day. So let me do one thing here. I want to add a new activity to this and say closing day. Actually, closing day. So what you can do is add a tag in here called closing day if you want. And on this particular, when is it? I'm going to say 0 days after closing date. And we're going to make it at closing time as well, just so that if the closing date and time has changed, it knows how to set it and put it in there. And this is going to be an appointment. And I might even colorize this, make sure that it's green for Money Day. And we click on Add on this. So the purpose on this then is once this workflow gets started, And once it's filled in, so let me go ahead and just a new closing. Let's add this to that same property that we were just on. Come on, there we go. A new closing. Next. Again, here's all these different activities and stuff that we might want to turn on or turn off. Probably ought to go over the groups at some point, but we'll leave that for now. And who's the buyer's agent, show agent is, and closing day, option day. I'm just going to throw in some dates here real quick. Financing deadline, blah, okay, and next. I'll leave all those for now. So what it's doing is it's adding in all the different pieces to this. Now, if I come over here to either my calendar or my activities, go into the activities piece. Give it a second. It's too slow because I'm sharing my screen. There we go. So here's all of those activities, and here's that closing day. It's in green, whatever. So it has a tag of closing day. So I can come up here and just say closing day as a tag. I can find it. It has it as a tag entry here, in which case I can find it, and it should take me to. Should be showing my activities there. Let me close that as well because it's also filtering that out, I think. Closing. Anyway, what it does is it gives you the ability to do searches on certain tags, in which case it would show it so I can see everything that has, you know, closing day on there or the tag that's available. So closing day. It's really not fair. I should have, because it'll also find it in the title. But had it not been in the title, it would still come up because it is a tag as well. So that's what the tags are for. I hope that helps. Okay, back to the inspection activity. Can I use the list of activities for both a pre-listing workflow and under contract buyer? Can I reuse those activities in multiple workflows? So yeah, so what you can do is you can branch, you could create segments of a workflow, and whenever you get, let me go here to the workflows. It's another great question. You guys are excellent questions this time. I'm impressed. Some good ones. Let me go back to that inspection one, just as an example. So, for instance, what you might have done, say this is the main workflow for, in your case, a pre-listing. That doesn't really make sense. Pre-listing workflow and an under contract for buyer. Those two really are different sections, so maybe what you're asking isn't quite going to work, but the pre-listing piece are things that you're going to do through the listing side, which that's going to be where the use with is property, and you can't mix and match those because it uses different fields, different party members and stuff like that, different party member types. You'd have to use it within the same use with section, of which if you wanted to come down here, you might have one activity that says start a workflow of pre-closing or whatever, in which case we've got an option here that allows you to start another workflow. So I could come in here and say that I want to start a workflow for important transaction dates. That important transaction dates is just a segment of date fields that I want to make sure get filled in. And there might be another workflow that you want to start this same one on. So you could create that important transaction dates as one workflow and then have two different workflows call or start this important transaction date flow, so you're not having to reinvent it inside of those two initial workflows. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It's one of those where um, you can create kind of like subroutines or subsections, and then from one workflow you can initiate those subsections to go do other things. It's a powerful feature there. Okay. Sometimes I set up a pre-inspections on listings, and it's the same steps as setting up the inspections for the buyer. Yeah, the problem in that, Shelley, is the problem with which merge fields are being used, and you wouldn't be able to set up the exact one because we're using potentially different areas, pre-listing versus the buyer section, which is different stuff. Sorry. So maybe that can't do that for you. I understand. Good. Okay. Any other questions? We've got about 8 more minutes before our hour's up. These are all great questions. I appreciate being so attentive. Sometimes I get on here and no one asks any questions. It's like, well, twiddle my thumbs for a few minutes, and if there's no questions, we end the webinar. But we have definitely gone through there. Best lead follow-up workflow free. Okay, so here's the deal. Let me go into workflows, click on, whenever you're in the workflows area, you can click on the plus and choose, instead of creating a new workflow, you can choose add workflows from the library and click on continue. What this will do is this will show you a list of all the different workflows that we have available in our library. Now, some of these workflows are premium, where they do, it requires a code of some sort to install. Now, to get that code, you may have to purchase it, or you may need to be part of a coaching club or something like that, some kind of trainer or something like that, or a webinar that maybe you've attended, in which case it'll give you the code. Other ones are public and they're free. So the question is what is the best follow-up workflow? We've got a good free one that will give you a lot of good examples is this, a Realvolve exclusive, and we've got some different types of things for escrow services, follow-up. There's follow-up previous customers, after-sale buyers, after-sale not my buyer, and then seller in town. So there's some good ones that you can look at and use. Kind of a warning there is the fact that, hey, we're not you. And for any workflow that you get, we recommend that you go in and you make the changes to that workflow to make it you. We want it to be authentic. You want it to be authentic. Otherwise, you won't get the response from it. There are a lot of paid type workflows that are available. Dave Beeson, he's got some really good letters. The original letter writer series, I think they're like $99 or something like that for him. And I mean, he's got like a 7-year follow-up. There's follow-ups for buyers and sellers. There's several different things. They've been around for a while. They're tried and true, but are they you? That's the question. And what you can do is get these. You can make modifications to them and make them you. Even though these aren't free ones, they've got a lot of content there. And for $99 or whatever he charges, it's going to save you a lot of time. So don't be afraid to pay a little bit to get something. You know, writing letters does take time, so make sure that you factor that in. And one more, Google Calendar Sync. Is this RV calendar? Basically, all activities populate on the RV calendar. Yes. So the way we do, and this is another great question, is under settings. You can go in under the Google Sync section, and you can turn on the activities sync. And what that does is that will synchronize to your main calendar, the main Google Calendar. At some point here, we'll probably make it so that you can choose which calendar, but right now it's the main one. And if some people will, what they'll do is they will create a separate Google account for just the Realvolve calendar and then share that calendar to their main Google Calendar. And then that way it does keep it separate. So that's an option there for you. Whenever you go to your Google Calendar, you have the ability to set up activities to multiple different calendars, in which case, if you have a family calendar or you have a honeydew calendar or whatever, those types of things would be excluded whenever you go to synchronize if it's a separate calendar from the main one. Or like I said, if you just set up a separate Google account just for keeping the Realvolve piece together, you can do that. When importing contacts, does the Excel spreadsheet have to be in a specific format? No. That's a great question, Jim. The way we do that is you can come in under the settings and then come under import contacts. And we have a little, if you click on the show me, it will take you step by step through a little video on what to do. You select the file, you upload that file, and then it will give you the ability to map the individual fields that that need to be imported. If you're coming from another application, Top Producer, Wise Agent, Advantage XI, Act, Outlook, any of those, I mean, we've got like 20 or 30 different pre-mapped layouts. All you do is upload the file, select the correct mapping, and then we do encourage you to go through and make sure that all the fields look right, because they do have the tendency to make changes to the fields at some point, but we do base it off of the field label. So even if they add a few, all you got to do is map those additional fields that were added. You don't have to remap the entire thing. So some really easy ways to map those files as they come in, and you do not have to have them pre-laid out a certain way. Great question. All right, guys. Any other questions? I don't think I missed anything. If I did miss anything, don't hesitate to email us. You can email support@realvolve.com, and we will certainly take care of you. Hope that helps you guys. We will be doing this again. I don't think it's next week. I think the following week is March 9th. So if you guys have other questions and stuff, come on March 9th. We here at Realvolve, several of us are going to Las Vegas for the big RE/MAX convention. And if you guys are RE/MAX users and are going to be at the convention, please stop by our booth, and we'd love to talk to you guys. So you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Will you get an email on this tape session? There should be an email going out as soon as I post it, but all you need to do is go to that, and it'll be listed in the YouTube channel, top of the list. So you should be able to get to it really quickly. I'll be uploading it as soon as I get upload. It takes normally about an hour or so to get it up there. So hope that helps. You guys have a great week. Talk to you later.